All right, the niche. In Texas, we call it a niche. Niche. Anyway, niche. You could put this anywhere, right? Though, you know, when I'm taking a shower, I don't understand the people that put a niche right below the shower head. So all I can think of is when one would be right there, the shower is hitting you in the face and you're grabbing your shampoo and conditioner. Anyway, so I like my niches towards the back, if not in the very back. Where these 2x4s are in this shower, I have a couple options. I could make a really big niche and go across 2 boards and make it real wide. And I thought about that because that sounds wonderful. But my biggest bottles are not real big. So I decided, okay, this is probably big enough for me, but I think I wanted a little taller because, you know, I'll have my soaps and shampoos if there are any, but I think also in here I'll hang my razor and maybe my squishy whatever thingy. So I am gonna make it a little taller. So I have to think about what's the tallest I want to be reaching, and then also the lowest to not make it look weird. So that's what we're doing right now. So I say that's the very first thing you want to do, probably, is find out where you want it and how tall you want it, because that's gonna, all we're doing right now is making the shape of it. So one thing to think about is the size of your tile. I have pretty tall tile and I'm gonna stack them vertically. So I don't have a whole lot of room to plan on them being whole at the bottom of the niche. Let me tell you what I mean. If I were to stack 3 of my tiles on each other with the spacers and the space at the bottom, it was 39 inches and an eighth. So that would put the bottom of my niche here. That's weird. You know that, and then that would put the top, can't even see it probably. That's a little high. So I will have the tile stacked, and then I'll just have to have a cut level here. That's fine. If your tiles are smaller, you can do the math and figure out exactly where you want it. If you want them to be whole picture, whole tiles, fine, that's great. I'm not gonna get away with it. And then this width, I don't have much choice on. What I do have a good choice on is where I'm gonna have the center line of my tile and where it might match up with this. We'll do that a little bit later because that we can have some play with, because you don't want to leave a really small tile on either side, like a sliver. Looks bad, it's hard to do, it's hard to get straight, all of it. So we'll do that in the future, but that's something you can work with this way. And then this way we're gonna be fine. I'm going to have a little trim piece around the whole thing. So it's fine if they're cut because it's covering it up. So that's okay. Here we go. Niche size. I want my niche to be 22 inches tall. I'll show you a picture of what my idea is. Okay, I think this is pretty self-explanatory, but I wanted to just walk through what I was thinking on my niche. So you can see that's the biggest bottle I have ever had in my life on the bottom. So that, along with, I'm going to find a little hook for my razor blade, and then those are just my shampoo bars that hang from a little holder. So that's plenty of room for me. So that's my measurements that I'm going off of whenever I am designing my final interior size of my niche. So what does that math look like? Let's draw. Get a pen. Okay. If I want my niche to be 22 inches tall, what is that going to mean? That means, okay, I want to first probably think about where I want the bottom of it to be. What do I want my stuff resting on? Maybe a little bit lower than that, actually. I had kind of done some here, so let's mark that out. I think I kind of want it right here, about elbow height. Doesn't really matter. But this is where I want it. So let's go ahead and mark. That's the top of my 2x4. Top of the 2x4. Cool. So when I'm cutting this 2x4, this is the width I want to measure it. Oh, but wait, that's not going to be the height of it, because then we also have cement board and a piece of tile on top. So if I'm picky and this is where I want it, let's move it down a little bit. So if we want the top of it to be here, we move it down a 1/2 inch, right? That's for the cement board that's going on top of the board, because we're going to make it waterproof, okay? And I'll probably do a little drawing. Okay, so here is my pretty basic drawing of, let's go from the bottom to the top. The 2x4 is on the bottom, but I'm going to have that 1/2 inch cement board on top of that. So that's what we're going to waterproof. And then I'm going to have my tile on top of that. So I have measured out, all my pieces to know what is going to go on top of my 2x4 to know where my final resting place will be. So we'll move it down a 1/2 inch, and then the tile, my tile is just less than 3/8. I think I'll have to measure it. 0.31, I believe. Okay, so let's do the math and move it down if we want it to be exact. So from here, we're going to go down 1/2 inch, and then let's say, since we're going to have some wiggle room with the tile plus thin set under it, 0.3, let's go down another 1/2 inch, so that's an inch further down, and that's actually where this board is going to go if I want the final height to be right here. Okay, I'm hoping this drawing that I'll do will make sense. So from here, we're going to go down an inch. I don't like measuring from that. 1, boom. So this is the 2x4. So that's the top of the bottom. You got me. There's the 2x4. So that gives me a spot where I can measure my distance to cut my 2x4. Then we're going to install that. What about the top part? Like I said, I want it 22 inches tall. Does it have to be exact? No, but that's what I'm aiming for. So let's do 22 inches from this top, because my end piece, I want 22 inches tall, right? So from here, we'll give it a little wiggle, and that's where I want my opening to be, okay? So we'll put N for niche. Okay, so again, why did I put the tape measure down? So again, let's have a little visual. This is not where the board is going to go. There's going to be the board and then a piece of cement board underneath it, and then the tile. So again, we're going to do 1 inch up from there to make room for the things below it, okay? So let's measure out our inch. Start here. Is it perfect? No. Okay, so there is where our 2x4, the bottom of it, will be, okay? So now let's get this measurement right here. My 2x4 is exactly 15 inches. Now, my 2x4s in here are slightly wonky right here when they put them in. This is not plumb. I mean, plumb is this way, but you know what I mean. So it's angled in a little bit. So let's get that back measurement also. I'll step in front of here. Okay, almost 15. So we'll cut it at 15. You want it nice and tight in here, right? Because when you screw it in, you don't want to be pulling or pushing anything. So I'm going to make it right at 15, and I'm going to hammer it in. I might cut off the corners just a touch. So this one is exactly 15, okay? This top one, again, the bottom of the 2x4 is right here, so let's get a measurement just above that. It's 14 3/4. I don't like that, but what that's gonna make us do is, because we want this vertical, we'll have a little play with the tile, and that's what we're gonna have to do. So the end result, 14 3/4 is the smallest, so that's what we're gonna go off of. So what does that mean? That means board to board, we're 14 3/4. Again, you have 1/2 inch for the cement board on each side, that's -1 inch, and then you have a little less than an inch total for the tile, on 1/2 inch on each side. So our end result niche width is going to be, let's say, 12 3/4 to about 13, probably closer to 13. So let's see what that's gonna look like.
Okay, so what I did was I just moved in those side pieces a hair. You can see the interior width of that is 13 inches. So to me, that looks fine. I'm perfectly happy with that for my niche width. The height doesn't change. I'm going to keep that. So that's what our final will look like.
All right, the rest in the bones, the fixtures. So this is where you have everything open and you can adjust your plumbing, right? So we talked about if you want to move the handle portion somewhere else, if you have a piece of glass here and you don't want to reach around, think about that. The other thing is you want to have your fixtures with you when you start this phase because you want to make sure that your shower head height is good for you, right? So this is where the old shower was connected, right? Remember we unscrewed it. So this will go in its place. So I want to test this to see if that is tall enough to my liking, depending on the head. Now, you might have a rain shower that comes down a little lower, or you might have somebody really tall in your house, which we do not. So for me, this is great. I'm not going to worry about moving anything. Okay, so test that out and make sure you have your fixtures before you start putting up the cement board and waterproofing because you don't have to take it down and do it over again. All right, now this is the other part of your fixtures. So this portion that goes to your handle, hot, cold, everything, this is very specific for each faucet that you buy. Okay, so this is going to need to be replaced. I'm going to keep it in the same location because since we do have a tub, it's not awkward that it's right here, right? So that's where most shower tub combos are. They're lower, closer to the tub. If we were changing this to do a walk-in shower and not have a tub, you'd have to move the handle higher, right? Because that would be weird. So we're leaving this in place, but what we're going to do is change out all of this. So we'll probably change this to PEX, Sharpike, whatever. But we'll put the new, it's called a cassette. We'll put the new piece in here. So that's also part of the bone. So I'll have my husband work on this part while I do the niche. Okay, boards, cut. 15, 14 3/4. Now remember there was a little jiggle in the wiggle up here. So they fit pretty good. There's a little bit of gap here. That's gonna be covered up by multiple layers of waterproofing, so that's fine. It fits in here really sturdy. So what you want to do, put it in. Again, here was my top. I'll move it up a little bit. Pardon the hammering. Perfect, okay. Nice and level this way. Also, I have a little level that I'm gonna put this way because I want a teeny tiny slope down and out because this is where the water is going to go, right? So we want all water everywhere to flow down to the drain. That's what we want to think every time we're putting something in here where water is going to touch it. So yes, you'll have the tile, you'll have grout, you'll have the waterproofing, the cement board, and then the board. So this is like the 5th layer, but tile and grout are porous. They are not waterproof. That took me a long time till I heard that, understood it. Everything goes through the grout, pretty much. Yes, you can seal it, that's great. But just expect that water will go through every single point where you have grout. So the next is going to be our waterproofing layer that's going to protect. So yes, that's going to have a slope. But then finally, this is going to have a slope. So what some people will do is make this level and then they'll make the tile slope a little. They'll put in a little extra thin set and make the tile slope. Well, your water is going to get through all that. And then it's going to get to the waterproofing where, okay, let's say the waterproofing holds it all in there, but if it's flat, it's going to pool. And what does pooled water do? It smells. So this is what we're gonna do. Just a slight tilt. Wish I could show you that, but that is enough. Just slight. So, pardon the hammering. Get down on the front a touch. Just like you wouldn't even notice this. The bubble on my level is just at the back line. So it's not right in the middle where it's level. So it's back, you know, a little bit over the line. So I'm happy with that. Let's go this other side. Okay, that's a little much. We're still level here. So let's go up a little on this side. Okay, I'm happy with that. Okay, now it's in place. It is tight enough that I don't have to worry about holding it. If it weren't, this next part would probably be tricky and you might want to have a second person, but I have construction screws, wood, whatever, so no pre-drilling required. Okay, that's fine. I'm a pre-driller. I live in some pre-drilling, especially wood to wood. So there's lots of opportunities for this wood to split. And it may not split much, but if we can pre-drill and do one extra step to be sure, that's great. Okay, so I have 2.5-inch screws. Let me show you what that's gonna end up doing. That's how far that's gonna come in, right? Perfect. So that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna put 2 screws on each side. So I'm going to do, doesn't really matter probably. I'm gonna pre-drill everything, but I'll do 2 on this side and 2 on this side, keeping this tiny itty bitty slope. So I'll put it in place. So these screws are what's called a hex head. Oh, so much easier to work with than like Phillips or anything. But most of these boxes, if you get like a box, they'll come with the bit you need. Would strongly suggest getting one of those kits that comes with different sizes of Phillips, different sizes of flathead, all different hex heads, things like that. Very, very handy. So first thing though, let me set this down. Battery's charged. I am going to pre-drill with this tiny, tiny little drill. Now all this does is act as like a starter for the screw, and it is half the size of my screw. So what I don't want to do is pre-drill something too big where the teeth of the screw won't catch onto the wood, right? And I don't want to make it too small where it doesn't make a difference, but too small in a pre-drill is kind of okay. Anyway, so this is what we're doing. So let's get our little drill in here, a little bit. Locked in. I have it set to drill here. I have it in the lowest setting. It goes from 1 to 2, you can speed it up. That's not what I want right here. So I'll just make a little pencil mark to make sure. So what I'm gonna do, here's the top of my 2x4 and here's the bottom. So when I'm on this side, just make it nice and easy for me to remember. I wanna make it right in the middle of those 2 marks, okay? My husband makes fun of me for always having a pencil in my ponytail. He'll just come up behind me and say, hey, I need a drawing real quick. Can you do it? So, anywho. Okay, so let's do the front one. And I want one in the front and back so it doesn't wobble. Wiggle, wobble. What is the deal with me and W words? Okay, so here we go. Let's go. And I'm going about, that's about 1/3 of the way in, right? And then the other one's gonna be another 1/3. So I'm kind of putting them in the middle. So let's pre-drill it here. Oop, we're on reverse. So this is how you reverse and go forward, and it'll have little arrows on it. So we are going in. And you want to make sure it is nice, 90 degrees this way and this way. I want it nice and straight. Boom. All right, now before anything else moves, I'm going to go ahead and do the screw. Yes, it's moving stuff, but I want this first one to make sure I'm doing a good job. So I'm going to put that other bit in, the hex head. I don't know if this is a T25. T25. Boom. All right, so again, I'm in 90 degrees. I'm going to put it right in that drill hole, and we're going nice and slow. Nice and slow. A little bit of pressure on there. In. Flush. Gorgeous. Okay. We're gonna do 3 more like that. All right, bottom one's in. Now, I wanted my interior to be 22 inches tall, at least. That was my picture that I had. So we're pretty much where I had the 2x4 line right here, a little bit lower. So let's remeasure and then make sure that we're not making it too small for what we want. So our top board cut. Let's look at from the front of this. 22 inches from the top. We're still looking good there. 22 to the bottom of the niche. There's the 2x4. It's still looking perfect. So I'm gonna go right at that line. Let's see this board. Here's our 14 3/4. Now this one, this board widens a little in the back here. I think it's pretty, this one's pretty straight. So, you know, when you cut a board, maybe it's not perfect. So if you have it where maybe the cut, does it go a little wider on this side? It does, okay. So this side, by a hair, it was cut by hand. Maybe makes it a little wider in the back, not really. So anyway, we're gonna do it anyway. So putting it where we wanted, the 2x4. Ooh, that's a little loose. Okay, hubby. All right, so here's where, since this won't stay on its own, I'm gonna get my husband to come in and hold it for me.
So here my husband is holding the board for me. He didn't want sound on while we're doing this. So I've sped this up just a tiny bit, but essentially I'm doing the exact same thing I did on the bottom, except on this board, I don't want any kind of tilt to the front. That's not where water is going to be pooling or anything like that. So this is the one, I want this perfectly level. So that level you see up top, I'm getting that centered right perfectly. So I thought once I put one side in, I could do the rest solo, but it is not ending up being perfectly straight. So I could not, in fact, do it solo. So I yell for him to come back. So he's going to hold it level for me both ways. I'm marking where the 2x4 goes, pre-drilling. I'm getting one screw in just to keep it there, and that should be good.
All right, can you see it? Can you envision it? Black tile, blue tile, black fixtures, stuff. Super excited. Super easy, didn't change anything. I was looking on Pinterest. I was noticing people are now doing corner niches, corner shelves. Man, that's gonna be my next house. Okay, so we're good. So this portion is done until we start doing the cement board to start the waterproofing process. So good here. Next is going to be, let me show you the fixtures. All right, here's the new cartridge for the new fixtures. Let's see, DR tub. Boom. All right, so I'm not gonna take this off because when installing it, you wanna have protection over this because this is pretty delicate and you can turn on the water. We're obviously gonna turn off the water to do this, but so I think we're gonna do this tomorrow. So this is gonna go in this place. You can see that it's the exact same setup, right? So we have cold, hot, shower, tub. So we're replacing these. So we're gonna cut the copper pipes and put in like quick connect, PEX, sharp bite, that kind of thing. So that's gonna be tomorrow. And hopefully it goes well all in one day. And then we're gonna start putting up cement board. So see you then.
Christmas time. So this took a bit longer than I had hoped for the plumbing part, but we are ready. So got the new cartridge installed, redid the fittings with some PEX, got some threadings on, got the shower height where I wanted it. It's about a ½ inch higher than it was before, maybe a little bit more than that. That's about as high as I could go without moving the support system. So we are ready to start with the cement board. So here we go. Okay, I like to have a list of the things that you want to have in hand before doing this portion. So if you want to take a little screenshot of this, this is what you'll need to do your niche and make sure that your water connections are all in the right spot when you want to change that part out.